The Dragon Prince novelizations are not, strictly speaking, essential reading, as they mostly just repeat a lot of the same information we get in the show itself. They are pretty well written, but they're not Faulkner or Virginia Woolf. They're not masterpieces of style. If you want to experience only one version of the storyline, just watch the show. The novelizations do, however, add quite a few tidbits about the world and the lore, and most interestingly to me, Viren's backstory that we do not get in the show itself. We know in the show that Viren's wife isn't around. The kids grew up without a mother. But we are not really given a lot of insight into how or why that marriage fell apart, what drove his wife, Lissa, to leave, and how the shadow of her leaving continues to linger over Viren and the kids. The novelizations provide a lot more insight into Viren and the kids' domestic life. That Viren would not like to freely provide information about how his family became so broken is rather understandable, but it is a shame that what happened to this family has not become, as of yet, an important plot point in the show itself. So the insights the novelizations provide are quite elucidating and helpful. The novelization of the first season of the show provides a few significant little windows into the marriage between Viren and Lissa and why she left, but a lot more information is provided by the second novelization. Enough to piece together, more or less, what happened, even if the novelizations do not state it outright. Soren became very sick when he was younger. This was not a minor sickness. Possibly he died, and even if he didn't, he was going to die. Viren responded to this sickness by using dark magic to help his son, and this drove a major wedge between Viren and Lissa, eventually causing her to leave. Dark magic, as the show makes clear, requires significant sacrifice. Claudia had to sacrifice the deer back in Season 2 to heal Soren's legs. And in Season 3, after Viren dies, Claudia likely kills someone, or possibly several someones, to bring him back to life. It is very intentional, I believe, that you can see the boot of an enemy soldier sticking up right at the end of Season 3. Viren does not state outright that he acted similarly to save Soren, but there is enough storytelling through implication in the novelizations that it is clear that this is what happened, or at least it is pretty heavily hinted at. I would be extremely surprised at this point if it was not the case. Lissa, though okay with some uses of dark magic, was outraged by the sacrifices Viren made to save their son, so she left. There are few lacunas to this hypothesis, and it explains quite a lot. It would account for why Viren is so cold towards Soren, whereas he is much warmer and more sociable toward Claudia. When he looks at Soren, he's reminded of what he did, and he is reminded of his wife and how she left. It would also explain why Lissa left in the first place. The novels heavily imply that she left because of his use of dark magic. Now, on first glance, this does not really make a lot of sense, because Viren is a dark mage. He has never pretended to be anything other than a dark mage. When Lissa met and fell in love with him, she must have known he was a dark mage. So for her to become so revolted by his behavior as a dark mage that she left, what he did must not have been ordinary dark magic. It must have been a pretty extreme and significant bit of dark magic that required a human sacrifice. I don't think anything less than that would have impelled Lissa to leave in the way she did, leaving behind her children. Soren, of course, does not remember this. If he did, he would have brought it up. He remembers probably getting sick and then getting better, but he would not remember that Viren used dark magic to heal him. Thus, I think Lissa probably left when the kids were young. Soren got sick when he was young, and Viren healed him. This kind of complication with Viren doing something horrible from the perspective of those who condemn dark magic, and perhaps even from the perspective of those who are okay with it in some circumstances, to do something good for a person he really cares about to save his son's life, that throws a lot of complications and nuances into the whole dark magic debate. This hypothesis lines up so well with all that has already been established about this world and these characters that I would be surprised if it is not outright confirmed in the third novelization. It would be a fascinating storytelling move that would position both Viren and dark magic in a different light. The dark magic debates on the show have sometimes fallen into tedious moralism. The elves, whose perspectives we see quite often, are very adamant that dark magic is bad because it zaps the life from living creatures. And this is perhaps understandable, but it does not provide a lot of insight into why people are using dark magic in the first place, why the humans resort to it, and the benefits it provides them. Without that context, the show's depiction of dark magic cannot be more than superficial. Now, I do not think this is the show's intention to just have a very one-dimensional view of dark magic, as we see at the start of Season 3, when Sol Regum takes it upon himself to destroy an entire human town because they use dark magic. The extremist position of the elves and the dragons is not one the show wholly supports, perhaps, but it is also not a position the show has contradicted in any real significant way. And having Viren be so attached to dark magic because he used it to save his son's life would be a major complication. It would be a serious blot in the narrative the moralistic elves are trying to create. From the perspective of Viren, who was given the choice to either use dark magic to save his son's life, or not use dark magic and lose his son, the tedious, officious moralism of the elves seems rather empty and banal. Just an abstract rule that says very little about these real, palpable, intimate cases where using or not using dark magic can be the difference between still having someone you really love and losing them forever. The show need not side with Viren necessarily, but it would be beneficial if the show explored his side a little more. Having Viren rely on dark magic for this purpose furthers the characterization of Viren as an amoral pragmatist willing to resort to controversial and dramatic and cold-hearted actions in order to do what he believes is right and moral and beneficial to himself and those he loves and humanity as a whole. The decisions he makes are not in of themselves absurd and ridiculous, even as the process of him consistently going to these extremes leads to him eventually falling under the sway of Erebos. Viren is by far at his best when he is not a straightforward, simplistic villain, when his thinking is clear and sensible even when we consider it sordid. I hope the show goes deeper into what happened between Viren and Soren and dark magic later in its run. That is a very rich storytelling vein that deserves to be explored a lot more than just having a few hints about it in the novelizations. So anyway, thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching the first 3 seasons of The Dragon Prince, and who knows, we might get season 4 one day. Not this year, though. Maybe next year, if we're lucky. Read the novelizations if you haven't. They're quite good and quite compelling. They're not essential, but if you're looking for more Dragon Prince content and you're sick of watching the first couple seasons over and over again, consider checking out the novelizations. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.